I want to shift the conversation. We talk so much about profitability and sales growth and revenue enablement and COO challenges and winning. And I want to talk about people. I want to talk about what it means to be human and what it means to face challenges. And my friend Roderick went through an incredible challenge that, if you don't mind, share with us. What happened?
So, like a lot of us, I was on a site visit for sales kickoff, walking the premises, trying to figure out where we're going to put folks in rooms. Started to feel really tired. Got back to my hotel room, went to sleep like a normal night. Woke up the next morning, and every morning I call my wife, we check our schedules and things of that sort. But it was a different kind of day. What I heard was what you hear now. What my wife heard was gibberish. And turns out that I had a massive stroke during my sleep 2 years ago. And we went through the protocol. Thank God she knew all of the pieces. They got me to the emergency room. The interesting thing is 98% of people that have sleep strokes never wake up. So thankfully I am part of that 2% club. They rushed me over to the emergency room, and on average, the human heart squeezes at about 55 to 65% regularly. When it gets down to 20%, cardiac arrest hits, you die. I was at 22% of heart function when they wheeled me in. Thankfully, they rushed me over to the emergency. I spent a number of weeks, months at the hospital through physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and an enormous amount of prayer. And thank you to everyone. And I want to stop just for a moment, and this was not planned by any way. Thank you, because, and he would never say this publicly, but I'm going to say it as a thank you. During that entire time of 6 months, he never let it go 2 days without calling to check on me personally. So, and it wasn't for likes, it was for life. So to you, thank you for the motivation, for the push, for getting me going, for keeping me going. And then it got worse. No, how can it get worse? You had a sleep stroke, right? I was in my room. I hear code blue. Machines are going crazy. And the next thing I heard was beep, and I flatlined. And I'm gone, dead. Now I've floated up to the corner of the room. I'm looking down on the doctors, doing chest compression, pulling fluids out of me, and now they're rubbing the paddles. I'm like, oh, this can't be good. So I look over to my left, and forgive me, this one always gets me. I look over to the left, and I see my mom. My mom died in 1999. And I said, hey, Mama, I guess it's time. I'm ready to go. And she says, no, son. And I remember her words vividly. And it was, I was sent here to tell you that you were going to be okay and this was going to work out. They're going to figure it out. I said, good, because I've got questions. Mom? And no, to answer the big question, I did not see a white light. But what I did see was the most vibrant, beautiful greens and yellows and whites and reds that I've ever seen in my life. And now I'm sucked back into my body. I'm laying flat on my back, but I'm still flatlined. And I can hear it. I can hear everything around me. It's kind of the twilight when you go to the dentist, is the best way I can describe it. So I hear one word that no one ever wants to hear: clear. Oh, I know what that means. I know where that's going. And so they're rubbing the paddles and they're literally reaching down towards me. And suddenly I hear beep, 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 and I'm back. I threw my hand up and I grabbed the person's hand, because that is not something that you want for Christmas or birthday for anyone that's never been shocked. I woke up and thankfully and miraculously, here I am 2 years later. Now, I will say this: I am not the typical stroke victim, I know. I'm had to actually stop and drop out of a number of support systems. People were like, it's been 2 years and I can use a spoon. I've walked 5 steps, and I thought, okay, I'm going to do a keynote in Belgium, so I should probably step back. And now comes the survivor's guilt that hits. So I tell you all this story not to make everyone go ooh and ah. I tell you because of the reason behind this. I'm all about the why. I allowed what I do to overtake who I was. Became the executive, senior vice president, flying around the world. I've got this big organization and we're doing well. Things are going well. The book's out there. It's going nuts. But I remember my daughter asking me a simple question over and over as I was moving up the ladder as an executive. And it makes me think about what Josh talked about yesterday. And I didn't have an answer for her, and it always bothered me. And it was, Dad, what do you do for a hobby? It's like, what is this hobby you speak of, child? And she goes, no, seriously, what do you do for fun that's just for you? And unfortunately, I did not have an answer. And this was about 15 years she kept asking this. So I say to each of you, if you're not taking time for you to go and recharge your batteries, if you're not taking time to do things just for you, and I know it's hard for us because as enablement folks, we're natural givers. We're here and we give to give, right? Because there's a lot of time you're not going to get the accolades, you're not going to get all the pats and back. You may not even get what you're worth and what you're due, but you do it because we do it from here. But at the same time, if you don't start doing something for you, they're going to say really flowery words about you. They're going to put nice things up on social media. Then they're going to open up a new damn wreck. And you're going to be replaced. Because if I've learned anything throughout this, it's 1, be authentic and be human, right? You come up that ladder and for some reason, we start to feel like I've got to put this corporate mask on, right? Take the mask off, let the wall down, be who you are and be authentic. If it's not in your company, you're probably not in the right place. I know it's a tough business out there right now, but do something just for you. Because I would hate to find out through social media, through Gerhardt, through our network, that remember that person that I met at Green Valley? Yeah, well, they had a stroke or they're gone now. They had a heart attack. Don't be me, please. And if anyone follows me on social media, you'll know. Even throughout that entire time it was happening, no one even knew. For the first time in 2.5 years, I put a post up on LinkedIn. For those that follow me know where I'm going. And I talked about the signs of a stroke. I talked about the importance of taking time for yourself. And I talked about being authentic and being human. Because if I didn't, and something happened to someone around me or in my network, I would never forgive myself. Because if I can help one of you not go through the struggle of learning how to use a spoon, how to tie your shoes, how to walk again, how to balance to get your own socks on.
You know what's interesting? You wrote a book called Sales Enablement 3.0.
That I did.
And right now you're describing a new book, Roderick Jefferson 3.0.
Thank you.
And there are 3 things about 3.0. It reminds me of what Sigmund Freud once said about what it takes to have a happy life. And the 3 things that he said was the ability to love, the ability to work, and the ability to play. When you were a football player, you did nothing but playing football. And you were good at it. You were a good athlete. And then you got enculturated in the business world. And you liked it. And I remember when I met you, you were at Marketo.
Yes.
And you looked to me like the ultimate, consummate corporate executive that's totally in charge, reigned supreme. The way you showed up, I was so impressed with you.
Thank you.
And I did the interview, and when I play back, I still think This is one of the most accomplished executives that I've met. Oops. I'm leaking. I love it.
Now there's human and authentic right there.
I know. I love it. We are all human. And then all of a sudden, you are on death's door. And you made it. And I remember the connection. I want to tell the story from my side, because I remember when my wife had twins, and she had a C-section. And I wasn't there, and I wanted to experience that. I wanted to be with her. And then we had Larissa. She was here yesterday. She works for the Books Group. And when she was born, I was allowed in the operating room, and they had a C-section. And there was this monitor that shows all the vital signs. And as I was talking to her, I saw my voice on her monitor, reflected on her monitor. And I realized that I have an influence on other people. There is something that's evocative about your spirit that evokes somebody else's spirit. And then I had conversations with him, many phone calls, where he barely could speak. And I wanted to have an impact on him, a positive impact, a life-saving impact, an impact that my message was really, you are strong, I believe in you, you can make it. I have no doubt that you will fail in this, because you are a tough son of a bitch, and you have something very special about you. And I recognized that, and I wanted to save it. I wanted to help any way I could so you get through that crap.
Thank you for that. It helped more than you know, right? Because there were two things that happened every day that I knew, or three things that I knew every day were going to happen. One was I was going to pray the same prayer every single night. It wasn't fix me. It wasn't heal me. It was, God, just let me wake up to tomorrow. The second thing I knew was going to happen was you were going to check on me. And the third was every single day for 6 months, my best friend, John Barrows, was going to make sure that he FaceTimed me, because he said I needed to see you.
Wow.
Because I couldn't talk. I had no voice, right? There was a lot of conversations that you held on both sides. And we would talk. It wasn't a quick 5 minute. We'd talk a good half an hour. And you'd talk, and I'd just grunt a lot. But I think you started to understand what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. You were more of a motivation than you know. Thank you.
I should change my career and become a hip-hop artist. What do you think? No, I think this is a wonderful story, and the reason we are having the conversation and going public with this, to let you know that there's so many people on your sales team right now that are going through a difficult time. And what I suggest to you is two things. One, know that you have a greater amount of resistance and resilience than you think you have. Like Roderick thought he doesn't have it, but he ended up believing he had it with the support. And with Dana earlier, we talked about the connections. The connections are so vital in an organization. So you are the human connector to the other person's heart, to the other person's mind that works on your staff. And I think that also the advice that you gave earlier is that every enablement function begins with self-enablement. So if you decide to have fun, decide to find a balance in your life, decide not to put all your eggs in one basket, then you have a better life, and you can be a better enabler. You can be a better leader. You can be a better motivator. And you're going to enjoy your life more because you're going to win more battles.
Absolutely. I want to leave you with three things. One is Be you and be human. And I know it sounds easy and simple. It's sometimes the hardest thing to do, especially in the environment and the world that we work in today. The second piece is never forget that this is not a program manager. This is not a trainer. This is not someone just on your team. This is a person. And to your point, your heart, all of us are going through something. If you can make one person smile every day, you've done something really big. And the third and most important is don't forget your why. Never forget your why. Right? I've got a mantra, and it's my 4 F's. It's faith, family, friends, and fun. Everything else outside of that is a distant second.
I got to come up with something to top that.
He's always so competitive.
The thing is, we talk about conversations, and conversations should be enlightening and should be uplifting and should be clarifying for your mind and the other person's mind. And what I'm always trying to do is 3 things. Allow people, and those are my 3 F's to your 5, to allow the other person to express himself or herself fully, frankly, and freely.
Love that.
And then people open up and they tell you the craziest stories.
Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? And I think it's very important for salespeople or anybody who wants to sell something to create that space for people to open up to you, because once they open up, they trust you and they believe in you because they first buy you, then your ideas, and then your service, and then your product. And you, being human is leading with value. You lead with human values.
Absolutely. You know, we all know relationships are the backbone of sales, right? And if we can step back from and teach people, especially our sellers, stop selling, start helping. Because there's never been a time, at least in my opinion, in the history of man, where leading with humanity, strong ethics, EQ, and data has meant more than it's ever meant before.
Yeah, and Jeff Seeley talks about culture. You know, my grandmother always said, the fish stinks from the head. So if you have a leader who has an ego problem, you don't want to work for that leader. And there are, unfortunately, there's one disease that a lot of leaders have, is narcissism. And narcissism is self-love that's excessive, where people always talk about themselves. And they don't talk with you, they talk at you. You know, there's a difference between Dr. Wayne Dyer, the way he listens, even doing an interview, and pays attention and is aware of what's going on. But the narcissistic leader is not aware of how they affect other people.
Allegedly, I may have had one of those type of managers, right?
Well,
anybody else? Am I the only one that's had narcissistic leaders? Just, no, you don't have to raise your hand. It's okay. All right, fine. There we go.
Yeah, and the antidote, I remember a leader for a company that everybody knows, very, very huge German company. It's not Siemens, Jared. It is a story about in those days they called them sales training directors or VP of sales training. And we wrote about him in Selling Power magazine, and we became good friends. And he was really very effective in the way he dealt with the organization. He was a brilliant guy. And then came a leadership change, and he had a narcissistic leader. And I said to him, John, there is no other choice but for you to leave the company or to find another position in the company, because you cannot win against a narcissistic leader.
True.
And it took him 3 months. And what this leader did is didn't give him credit for what he was doing. He took the credit from him and, all those gamesmanship plays that narcissists are capable of doing. And he left, created his own company, and he was happy as can be because he finally realized he can do it better for himself. And my story is very similar. I worked for a narcissistic leader, and I thought, I can do so much better than that. And I want to start my own company. And so you are now in transition. You've worked for a company. We've worked for a ton of companies. But you're back, and your main focus is on helping organizations improve performance and revenues.
Absolutely. I decided I want to work with smaller companies, that kind of 10 to 100 million, because they need the help, but they can't and don't need necessarily my level of background and tenure. But what I wanted to do was to be able to work focused on execution. Really, what can we do from building on onboarding, continuing education, leadership coaching, metrics, things of that sort. And then on the flip side, giving an opportunity to get back on the stage now that I can kind of put together a full sentence again and do some more keynote speaking. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity for this. And I want to say thank you to you for each of you indulging me. And I hope what you walk away is with a mindset that who you are is far more important than what you do or your title.
Well, thank you for that. And you brought some books. How many?
I will be signing books over in the other room when we're done here.
How many books did you bring?
I've got 20.
20?
Yeah.
So there's going to be a mad dash now, a competition, because there are only 20. But if those that don't get it, they can get it on Amazon.com.
We can figure it out.
Will you sign every book?
Every single one.
All right. Then let's close on that happy note.